Hi, people. This is Deborah. Let me read the disclaimer. The information provided on this channel is for educational purposes only, and this channel does not promote or encourage misuse of the information. I will mention some alleged happenings today, and yes, I will give you my opinions about some things. My thoughts matter, and so do yours. You should think with your intuition at all moments. Take what resonates and that does not, put it on the shelf for later interest. Now, this is what I say and will say continuously. To the Almighty Most High, expose those on this channel with wrong intent, and expose and block all workers of hatred, jealousy, voodoo, spell work, witchcraft, and those who try to block people from what is due to them. Expose these behaviors to the people. Detach people with good intent from those with wrong intent, invisibly and visibly. Break all curses in the lives of those who have right intent. And as for those who have wrong intent, expose them and cause them to change for the better. Almighty Most High, activate the five senses: vision, hearing, touch, smell, taste, and the greater telephony, intuition, and clairvoyance in your people. Block all the work of molestation, rape, abuse, domination, stealing, and exploitation. Heal all those who have been victims of these horrible, monstrous behavior. Now, I wanted to get that out the way. Hi, everybody. Hi, Daughter Most High. Hi, Brittany. Okay. How y'all doing tonight? Okay, I want to talk about death, and I want to talk about reincarnation, and I want to talk about my experience. Um, Let me just say this. There was a period in my life, this happened way over 20 years ago. Well, maybe 25. And I wanted to commit suicide. Um, and so I was well on my way of committing suicide. I ran into I went down the wrong side of the expressway and hit an 18-wheeler. And so, because I knew I would die. But anyway, I didn't die, as you can see. But the experience, I had heard of people talk about this light, this near-death experience. And I didn't not believe what they said. I just didn't think about it any further as they was giving me their experience. Because one thing I don't do, I don't sit up there and say that people's experience aren't real, because people have experiences and it may not seem real to you or to me because we have not had those experiences. And you know, the intellect is always trying to figure out some shit. But anyway, so I finally had my experience. I was in a coma, and my intent was definitely was commit suicide. That was my intent, and I did everything I thought I could to do that. But while I was in the coma, I was standing, and I gave this particular thing. I told this story probably a couple of times. What I experienced was this: I was standing in the middle of this big old bright light. It was shaped and it was round, and in front of it was all my relatives, all my relatives. And I looked over and I saw another option. And that option was this tunnel. It was a dark tunnel. And for some reason, I don't know why, I I can walk in the darkness, but I've been sleeping with the light. It is not completely bright, but I have been sleeping with the light on uh, since I've been divorced. Uh, when I was married, we slept with the light off. But since then I've been sleeping. I'll turn the bathroom light on and crack the door so it can have just a little light. But anyway, so when I looked over there and saw that the other option I had was a dog tunnel, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go with it. And all the relatives that was there, I didn't care for any of them, but they were relatives. And let me go ahead on it and read my point before I get off point. Um, the symbolism of Jesus dying on the cross is a metaphor for the body dying. The cross is the symbol of the body. That's what it represents. Look at it. It's shaped like the physical body without the head. The resurrection in 3 days is the metaphor of the spirit disconnecting from the body. After that, there were 40 days that the Jesus figure revealed itself to people. Now, this means when the person's body dies, the spirit itself hangs around for 40 days before leaving the earth cycle. You have the choice to choose that bright, and I just found out. I thought it was the sun, but it wasn't the sun, it was the moon because it was dark. And so it was the moon. You have to choose the bright moon with your relatives in front of it, or if you choose it, you will go to the moon for recycling or reincarnation back here. The other option is this dark, long tunnel, which will take you out of the recycling matrix. And I was telling you earlier that I had that option, but I chose to go to the relatives because I was afraid. Now, when I woke up, I was screaming from the coma when I woke up because I knew I was gone. Now, to this day, I don't know if I had died or if I was having a near death experience. I know that I've heard some people talk about their near death experience, and it's similar to what I experienced. Uh, in my early years, I was a skeptic. I never really believed what people said. Anyway, when they talk about it, because I was intellectual, and the intellectual person has to see, touch, and feel stuff. It has to be in their face so they can, that's the only way they're going to believe it. But again, we are spiritual beings and we're in a physical body. But I wanted to share that story because Jesus was not a real person. The writers of the Bible, as I keep saying, was the Masons, the Brotherhood. They wrote the Bible. And when they wrote it in a metaphor. They wrote it in allegories. It was never intended for a literal understanding. It was intended for what they wrote it for. They wrote it as an allegory, as metaphors. And what really was so funny, when my son had passed, my daughter and I, everybody had left. My daughter and I were standing above my son's body. And he winked. He was winking or smiling. And I didn't say nothing because my daughter, she's kind of funny. So I didn't want to scare her or anything. That kind of stuff don't scare me. But she said to me, she said, Mama, did you see? And she called my son's name. Did you see him smiling? And I told her yes. So my point is this, that the story that was given, people always say, well, my relative is still around. My relative always come to me. That part, I just don't believe. I believe that when the Jesus story, uh, the number 3 days, it takes 3 days for the body and the spirit to disconnect from each other. That's why the metaphor was he rose. He was rising to the spirit, even though that's what people do, even though the Jesus was not doing it. But that was a metaphor that when a person passes, it takes 3 days for the spirit to completely transition from that physical body. That's what that 3 days was about. And the 40 days is when that relative or whoever passes that they get to hang around Earth for 40 days. And as they hang around Earth for 40 days, they go and visit different people, whatever. But you may get some, like, I can give you, for instance, like uh my mother, I think it was like maybe a week. Yeah, about a week. May have been a little longer than that. She just, I was walking through the hallway in the house, and she said to me, she said, you were a good daughter. And then what happened, when I hit the 18 wheeler, she had bought me this video, not video, this yeah, I guess if you can call it a video. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But it was about Shirley Caesar giving a testimony of this lady. Hi, Gremlin. It was about this lady giving a testimony of Shirley Caesar was giving a testimony of this lady called Deborah, was in a wheelchair. And believe it or not, I was in a wheelchair at the same time. So that song really was for me. So every time I got in the car, within them 40 days, my mother had bought that for me. And every time I would get in the car, I would literally hear that song play on the radio. So that was a connection between me and my mother after that. And then I think the last part of that, I had a dream and she was walking around. She had gold on and a gold purse. And so that told me she was in a better place, because before she passed, she really did suffer. She suffered quite a bit. She was sick. She was a diabetic. Um, Now, my son, when my son passed, that was this monster of a demon that came to me in the dream. And when it came to me in the dream, it was looking like the Incredible Hulk. And it was what it needed. It needed a physical body, and it was trying to take my body. And so it had another spirit with him, and it was pretending to be my mother. So I immediately acknowledged that it was not a good thing. So for some reason, I had this Incredible Hulk uh, power, and so I hit the demon, and the demon went through, because the one that was acting like my mother was on the other side of the room. So when I hit the demon, it went through the wall and hit the other demon, and then that was all she wrote. That was the end of it. So I don't know whether that thing went to getting somebody else or not, but it got gone from me. But and the only reason why I knew to do that is because I've had quite a few experiences with invisible spirits that are in low, uh, in low form. And, you know, and I'm not trying to offend anybody because that's not what I'm here to do. But I would really encourage people to really take a look at that ancestral, thing again, because I know for a fact, and I was waiting for the pieces to be put together completely before I come and tell you this story. I know for a fact that that moon is a satellite. I know for a fact that I did saw a black face in the moon, looked like some ancient face in the moon. And I'm saying to you that that moon, based on your choice that you choose, when you either pass or near death experience, if you choose to go to the moon, that is pretending to be the sun, because that's what it looked like to me. It looked like the sun, but it wasn't. It was dark, but it was so bright. And if you choose to go to the moon, where your relatives is, because you're afraid to go to the darkness, you're gonna wind up recycling back down here. And this is it's a trap, is what it is. And I know that to be a fact now. I wasn't sure about it before, but I know it to be a fact now because now the pieces have been put together for me. And I felt a need to come on and share that with you guys. And hopefully you guys do some, whatever you need to do to be comfortable with it. But you're not you're not talking to your relatives. You're talking to something that's invisible, but it's not your relatives. They're gone. They are gone. Either they got out of the matrix or they've been recycled back into the matrix. My son has a friend, and the friend has the lady has a grandbaby. She, maybe before she's 7, 8 years old. Anyway, her mother passed, and what happened was her mother, they believe, entered into the granddaughter because the little girl knows stuff that only the mother knew and the daughter knew. There's no way possible that child could have had that information. And so they believe to this day that the mother was able to enter into the little girl. The little girl at the time probably was about 3 or 4 years old when the grandmother passed. And I do think that those kind of things do happen. Uh, One of the things, I don't know why I was so scared of the dark tunnel at the time, because I'm not scared of anything, but yet I was scared of the dark tunnel. And I guess, and I'm guessing, and I'm using my theory, I'm guessing that's probably the case with a lot of people that have these near death experiences, or maybe we died, you know, and we came back. And I'm not sure at this point, but I do know it I got gone, you know, and and when I made the choice to follow, to go toward the relatives, uh I woke up out the coma and I started screaming because I didn't want to be here. And I was reading, I wanted to read a scripture. I always say I'm gonna get past these scriptures, but I still keep going there. Ecclesiastic 12 and verse 7. And it says, and the dust returns to the earth as it is, which is the body, and the spirit returns to Elohim, or God, who gave it. And one thing that we know this much, that the spirit itself is invisible within us. Some say the spirit is in the belly. Some say the spirit is in the mind. Some say the spirit is the pineal gland. Some say the spirit is the pituitary gland. But what I do know is that that same spirit that is talked about in Genesis 2:7, where God blew breath into man and man became a living soul. The breath is in the nostril. It's there. So if breath, because breath means spirit, if a lot of people don't know that, if the breath is put here, then it goes up here. It's not going down there. And some people say that the spirit is the heart. That heart, that chest area, all that does is pump blood. It doesn't feel nothing but pain or not, and blood. That's what that is right there. Now, the heart that is being talked about is called I think it's called the cerebrum, cerebrum, and it's up in the head. You know, they give you these different names to throw you off. I have a thing that I check, and I be laughing because let's see, it's called Chat GPT. Chat GPT, you can type anything in it, and it's like an AI. It responds back to you. Hi, Miss Rebecca. It's like the AI, the GPT is like a AI. Whatever question you ask it, it'll give you an answer. And I'd be laughing at it because it lies. It's been programmed to lie. You know, and I'll purposely ask a question that I already know the answer to, and it would just lie. And it's funny because these people continue. Uh, but you know, if you do ask what the moon is, they will tell you that the moon is a satellite. They will tell you that. You know. But you got to keep in mind that as much as you miss your loved ones and you love your loved ones, and you know, and you just feel comfortable in thinking that those are your loved, they're not. You know, and I'll say this, and I always say it: loved ones before us knew the condition of what is going on down here. They knew what was going on down here. So when they passed on from here and got in a better position to help, they would have done so. You're dealing with entities, invisible entities, that is programming you to think that this is a place to be. This is not a place to be in the condition that is in. It really ain't. Um, there's another scripture that I want to give. Okay. It's in Ecclesiastics 1:18. And it says, for in much wisdom is much grief. And he who increases knowledge increases suffering. You know why? Because you get to see the good, the ugly, and the indifference of characters and people and behaviors and the system and the wickedness and your questions is why, and you're gonna suffer because you don't want to see that. You don't want that happening. You know, I see people and their thing is, well, she's not my relative, she's not my friend, she's not this, she's not that. But somebody has to start to be kind. Somebody got to start it. You know, I was listening, and I'm going to post it because I was listening to. I've been hanging out with the those that call themselves Indians, and I was listening, and I'm getting off the subject now. And I was listening to uh, this young lady talk, and she was sharing her story, and she has the facts of the fact that she is Indian. And she said King James is a relative of hers. Now I know King James to be uh, king of England. Okay, now King James, Jamestown, Virginia was named after King James. If you didn't know that. And so she said that she was not a Moor, she was not African, she is straight Indian. But King James, she said he wasn't a Moor, but I know him to be a Moor, you know, because King James, King George was a Moor. Georgia was named after King James. I know that to be so. And all those guys were from Europe. But I was listening to her, and some of the guys, well, most of the guys, she was on Sanetta show, and most of the guys on there was very disrespectful to her, and I didn't like it because they wasn't giving her an opportunity to say what she had to say. And see, a lot of people don't understand, and I'm getting off the subject, and I'm gonna stay off because I want to make this point. People learn how to be disrespectful and to not value your opinion in school. You learn that shit in school. I didn't learn it because I always had a care for people. People learn to disrespect and to tell you your thought don't matter. That's why you hear me constantly say you matter. Your thought matter. Hi B, how you doing? You know, your thought matter. Let's talk about this stuff because I think it's important to bring it up. But they were disrespecting this young lady, and I did not like it. And I noticed that there was one guy on there. I mean, and you can tell the patriarchal, the mad, the anger that these guys had toward this woman. And that's the crap that I'm talking about that needs to go away. And I was going to do another video on this, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to bring this on in. And what really irked me is this, is that people, I hear people still talk, but they don't break down that Aboriginal, that indigenous, and that original. They don't break it down. They don't break it down to what it is, because I know for a fact AB means, it has two meanings. The AB is A and B blood type, and it means mix. When it says Aboriginal, it is mixed cultures or mixed people. Okay, original means the people was here first. That's O blood type. I can't express that enough. I never hear nobody talking about that at all, but that's what it is. That's, you know, that's what it is. You know, and they keep talking about indigenous. Indigenous is the mixed culture too. But I'm gonna tell you this: all of us have mix in us. My mother, I told y'all, she was real light skinned. My grandmother was probably about 5 feet. She probably about 5 feet, maybe less, maybe shorter than that. I don't know. But my mother was a light skinned woman. I have grandkids that are light skinned. Their grandmother's light skinned, and her mother was Caucasian. So my point is this: we have to get, the only reason why I bring old stuff up, because we need to understand the truth. And then once we understand the truth, then we need to dissolve these ill feelings or ill thoughts and behaviors that is toward one another. Because I'll be honest with you, there is a difference in stock. And what I mean, STORK, is a difference, because those that are Pan African, they're totally different. The Indians, look at this. Go look up the word uh Indies, the West Indies, and look at how they traveled. When you go and look at Africa, oh, thank you. I said RK. When you go to East India, when you go to East Indian, those East Indians went through the West Indies and they came here and they went down to Florida, on up to Georgia, I think part of North Carolina. Anyway, they're Indians, okay? And I got this word now. This is my new word for I don't call people black because, like I say, I don't like that. This is my new word, swarthy. And so that's what I call people that look like me, and that's what they look like. My daughter and I, we was at Golden Corral the other day, and there was this Ethiopian lady. They're light skinned now because they mixed, so they're light skinned. And so she was looking at my daughter, and then she looked at me, and she said to us, "Where did y'all come from?" And my daughter told her, "Well, my mama said that we're Indians." And she said, "You are." She said the people that was there in Ethiopia, the ancient people, they look like y'all. That's what they look like. And so those same people traveled through the Indies and traveled. Anyway, to make a long story short, everybody mixed. There was not one person, one group of culture that did not mix with other people. And I tell you why. My first my first son, I didn't have my son with my ex-husband. I had him first. And the family, the guy that I had him with, he may have been West African. He may have been West African because he was very dark. And I've seen a lot of West Africans come up out of that are very dark. But that guy was very wicked. And honestly, I'm not saying my son didn't get some of me, but he got a lot of him. That whole family was messed up. And I'm gonna be honest with you, he raped me. This is my first time sharing this. He raped me. I can say it now because my son has passed. Um, I was 16 and he raped me and I got pregnant. But his whole family was wicked. The other thing that I noticed in my neighborhood, there were different cultures in my neighborhood. There were uh, light skinned, swarthy people. There were my complexion swarthy people, and there were a few darker swarthy people in my neighborhood. And I noticed, and I'm good for watching behavior, and I noticed that the real light skinned uh, people, they had anger problems. The real darker people, uh, they were wicked to me. And but the brown, like myself, they were a little different. They were more of the helpers. And this is what I noticed. And am I saying that today? Not every time, but I do notice the behaviors in different shades of people. Uh, and it's not good. Uh, and to me, these people that are walking around here thinking that they O blood type, they actually is probably A blood type, you know, because only the O blood type is the dominant, and they trying to make the A dominant, and it ain't gonna happen. Because if you destroy the O, you're gonna destroy the A and the B. Because it is the O that gives whatever is needed. They talk about Henrietta Lack. All of us O blood types have been Henrietta Lack. Whenever I used to go to the hospital to give blood, they would take 5 and 6 and 7 tubes of blood. My daughter was, she worked at a lab. All they need is a half a tube to test anything. But they always would get 5 or 6 tubes of blood from me because I was an O blood type. And they tried to give us uh, uh, a different type, like we some animal or something. We're not, and it's irritating to me because it's gonna come out anyway. All of what I'm saying is gonna come out. Just like it was a girlfriend. Now we were friends for 20 years, and I told her that tithing had nothing to do with giving money. uh and they just now came out. Preacher just now said it. It's been 20 something years. It took him 20 years to tell it. But the point is, I'm not going to tell you something that I'm not sure of. I have to be sure of what I know. If I'm not sure, I'm going to come back and say, you know what, I didn't know that, and I made a mistake. But now, because it's so much misinformation out there, I'm trying my best not to give misinformation on this platform because we've had enough of it, you know. And the thing of it is, there's some guys out there right now shooting that same girl down that talks about an Indian, being an Indian, because she has a petition out there. I'm gonna watch her platform a little bit more because so far I'm not seeing what they're accusing her of. I'm not seeing that. And I'm not particularly looking for that. I'm looking at the information because I have literally hung out with some Moors here in Atlanta. And they purposely give misinformation, the ones that I hung out with, and they charge you for it. And they don't give you the complete process of a thing right here in Atlanta. So am I saying all Moors are crooked and wicked? No, excuse me. I'm saying there's some crookedness, some wickedness in all cultures. That is what I'm saying. I have concluded that. That is what I've seen in this earth. So the ones that ain't crooked make a difference. The ones that ain't wicked make a difference. And just because a person is wicked and crooked, I'm not going to go and be mean and nasty to that person. But I will be firm, you know. And remember, keep in mind, I tell you all the time, I'm gonna first feel your energy. It's about energy for me. I'm gonna experience your energy because that's what I go by. I don't go by what come out your mouth. I go by your energy. And I'm not going to look at the color of your skin. I'm only using that now to describe what I'm trying to make a point about. But I'm not going to use the color of your skin and say, oh, you wicked, or you this, or you that. Even though I just described to you about the darker and the light skin in my period growing up. Is some of that still true? Yes, in my observance. It is. Because my ex-husband, his father, their family is mixed. Therefore my children is mixed. All right, let me stop for a second and see what you guys talking about. Oops. Okay. Okay. Hi, daughter of Most High. She said, thanks for sharing. Okay. Thank you for being here. Brittany, hi. Gremlin Cinnamon says, just a question. Is it two choices or not? Not choices. Well, I say that it's choices because there are options. There are options. The two options they're the only options we have. Period. When it comes to dying. I don't know what's going to be on that other end of that dark tunnel. I've heard stories and I kept myself open to it. But I do know this to be a fact that if you go toward the relatives with that big old moon there, you're going to wind up back here. You're going to be recycled for sure. And my other thing is, I know that a lot of people choose the brightness over the darkness because they've been told that darkness is evil and wicked and this, all that. That's not true. When the baby's inside the belly, the baby's inside darkness. The belly is dark. Okay, so Miss Rebecca says, hey, Deborah, good to see you. Good to see you as well, Miss Rebecca. And she said, it's lies. I don't know that. What is lies, Rebecca, that you don't know? And then Gremlin says, yes, everything is energy. In order for energy to survive, it needs a host. Mm-hmm. And B Edge says, hey, Deborah, hey back, B. Gremlin says, they always in them circles. That's why I laugh when they speak of sisters. I am original, not no damn aboriginal. Absolutely. Gremlin says, my great grandfather said that it is how she had her first son. It happens to her at 13. Mm-hmm. I am O blood type. I am O positive. Went to the doctor to find out. See, my thing is this. They're lying about everything. They've been lying about the blood types. They've been lying about who was original. The word, like I said, the word Jacob means supplanter. The supplanters have always been the patriots. They have, and they fighting people right now. They over there in Israel. They talking about, oh, you want to see what's going on in the world? Look at Israel. We don't give a flip about what's going on in Israel. We care about what's going on right here because Israel will handle itself. That they have taken money from the people here in America and taken it over into Israel. The people here in America pay taxes. Okay, but you take people hard-earned tax money and you go over there and support Israel. We're not looking at no Israel for anything spiritual. We're going inside of ourselves because that's where we're supposed to go. When I go downtown, they literally have people. They provided tents for these homeless people, and they tell us that we can't give them anything, though we'll be cited for giving the homeless people stuff, but they give them tents. And then they said they used to lock them up and put them in jail, but now they said there's too many homeless people in jail, and we can't put we have nowhere to put the real criminals. So what they did, they made some more jails, and they made the building beautiful and pretty and all that shit, and then still those people are homeless, and they let them sleep downtown. That's what they do. They let them sleep downtown in the streets, and that's horrible what they doing to people. But anyway, the disrespects of the sister, that's why I'm like, and you all say you all kings, gods, ain't no damn way you will rule over me. No, they can't. They don't they don't know how to rule. They are chaotic. Males, many of them are chaotic. There are some, I have met some that's not. But the average Joe Blow, he's disrespectful. Those that call themselves in religion, they are disrespectful, and somehow they trick females to be disrespectful to other females that don't abide by their rules. Gremlin says there is a video I may not find, but the sisters was using what she learned from the Moors and got 10 years. They do not talk about all the being in prison for paperwork. No, they don't. Because I went, but they take your damn money, because that's what they did here. I was introduced by the Moors by a lady that I used to be friend with. I'm not friends with her anymore. But she introduced me, and they charged you, and they gave you half-ass information. And come to find out, which I always knew, she was a sorority, which I always knew. I just waiting on her to say it. So Gremlin says, you misspelled choices in the title, Miss Durban. Yeah, I know. Thank you for correcting me. What happened if you commit suicide? What do you mean? What happened if you commit suicide? You're probably going to be recycled. See, I personally think this. Like, I'm not sure whether that was a near-death experience or was I dead and came back alive. But you get them two choices. And the average person is probably afraid. So they choose the relatives and the like. And so that person that committed suicide probably come back down here recycled. That's probably what happens. Now, I'm using my theory about that. I'm not saying that's a fact. But I do know the fact is this: you get two choices. Hi Street, how you doing? What happened if you okay? I hope I answered your question. Hi Glow, how you doing? I'm starting to think love is a spell. It is. It is. Them are. Now these young ones on the scene, they're not knowledgeable enough to be crooked. When I talk about the Moors being crooked, I'm talking about those guys in high ranks. Them boys, they crooked because they know the truth, and they still block people. That's what they do. They block them. Pay attention. Look at all the foreigners that's coming in from West Africa. They come in over here in America. They don't have no money. They come in here in America, and they actually have companies. They're able to get money from the USA and build their companies, trying to make us in America lazy. We're not lazy. They won't lend us the money, that kind of money, but they give it to the West Africans. Why? Because they're in treaties with them. And if you look at all the foreigners that's coming over here, and the reason why Trump gave those people that was coming in from Mexico a hard time, because they have enough over here. But Trump then was foreigners. Every president, every family president, all of them was any king, any lord, any whatever. All of them were foreigners. It's the foreigners that came in here and took the land. Now, and what's so funny? This is really really funny. Now they got these people that they're using, putting emphasis on Africa, going back to Africa. They're going back. You go back to Africa. This is my home here in America. You go right on to Africa. And they're telling people that they must go to Africa because that's their homeland. That's not my homeland. This place is my homeland. As far as I can see with my ancestors, none of my ancestors were slaves. Not one. Not one. And my ex-husband, none of his ancestors were slaves. They come from a royal line, you know, but they're going around telling people that they need to go back to Africa. Why am I going to go back to Africa? I didn't come from Africa. Because they want America for themselves. I looked out there, my son be laughing at me, but I looked out there this morning. We went out the house this morning. I counted them drones. They have drones. They be up in the sky every day. They hide in the daytime and at night they come out. But I can hear them. I don't know if I'm hearing them only and other people. I don't know how that works. But I happened to look up this morning and I was counting them drones. And they had more drones up there today than I've ever seen. And I counted at least 20. And I didn't finish counting. But they sit up high. And so they look like twinkling stars. They weren't stars. They were drones. You know. So they up to no good about something. I'm not afraid of them because I'm not afraid of leaving the earth. Now, if I was afraid of leaving the earth, I probably would be afraid of what they could do to me. I'm not none of that. And they know that. Okay, so now no three alleged. How you doing? What is the real meaning of tithing? It means tenth. That's all it means. A tenth part, a tenth this, a tenth that. That's all it is. Tenth. It just means tenth. You know. But you know, they took tithing and they made it into taxes. So that's what you're doing now. You're paying tithing in taxes. That's what you're doing. Besides going to church, for those of you all that go to church, you give money to the preacher, and you don't understand laws of giving and receiving. Laws in giving and receiving is a part of the universal laws anyway. So if you give somebody something, you're gonna get it in return. So if you're basing the fact that, oh, if I give money to the preacher and I get stuff in return, that's not why you're getting it. You're getting it because of the giving and receiving laws, the universal laws. You know, you can give to a homeless person something and you're going to get it back in return because it's written. It's an unwritten law that works. That's why so many people do. I learned it. I learned that when I used to work for IBM. I learned that people can hate you, but they can still give to you, and they'll get that. They don't have to like you to be a part of giving and receiving. They can give to you and hate your guts. I learned that. I learned that when I was working. But anyway. So Gremlin says, spell learn how to be in between love and hate, not choosing either. I'm trying to. Oh, Siri. Siri be telling some big old lies, Rebecca, and I crack up. I be cracking, ooh, I be laughing so hard. And then what's so funny, anytime I be talking, I'm in my room because I'm always on the computer. They will they like if my daughter called me or something, they would put a reminder for me to call my daughter back. I mean, they do little stupid stuff. And then like if I, whatever if I say, "Oh, I need to get me uh, um, fruit," then all of a sudden the fruit will come across my screen. I'll be laughing because they I know they be listening, even though I don't turn off the computer, even though I don't did it to my printer and I don't did it to my TV. I know they still have stuff that, and I did it to my phone. I know they still have ways that they're listening. I know, and I don't care. I really don't care at this point. I'm very concerned for the people that has been bamboozled with all these damn lies that they've been telling us. You know what I'm saying? And then what's so funny, I got a lot of more on my subscribe to my channel. They just sit back and listen to me, and they probably go and talk about me in their little meetings and stuff, which I don't care. I could shut this whole damn uh YouTube channel down. But I'm gonna leave it up. I'm gonna leave it up for a few people, because I know most of the people that's on this channel is not here for good intent. But I want it, and I'm going to say my I'm gonna say what I have to say every time I come on this channel, because I want them to know that I know what their intent is. You can feel it, you know it. They're not here for no good reason. And when I was listening to that sister, and I'm gonna post a video underneath this one when we're done. When I was listening to that sister, it's sad that the guys attacked her. She said she used to it. I could never get used to disrespect. I don't care who coming at me with it. I could never. They were over talking her. They pretty much was telling her that she was this, and this woman has papers on what she is and who she is. I one thing I don't do with people, I don't sit up there and reject their experience. If somebody had an experience, that's their experience. And that's the problem with the school system. The school system taught people to be competitive with one another instead of being helpful to one another. And we got to deprogram ourselves from that shit. Of course, I never been one that was programmed to it. And I always saw the school system as fucked up. I'm sorry, but that's what and then you see why I use profanity all the time. Now, it ain't no excuse because of the words that we're using, that we were taught to put ourselves in spells and stuff, but it's not an excuse. It's just irritating. It's like everything you say or speak out your mouth, it has, like the word con. They got about 200 words that begin with the prefix con. Think about it. Conscious, conscience, compel, all that. We got so many words that is just have just put us down, down, down. And we have to we that's why I study etymology every day. I come in this evening for you guys, but this is my winding down time. So that's probably why I'm misspelling words and all that, because I'm tired. I'm gonna be honest. I've been up since 2 o'clock. I'm up every day at 2 o'clock, but I felt the need to come in and talk about this death thing, you know, because it's I don't know what's at the end of that tunnel, but if you don't bend to the light, you have to go to the tunnel. Not be afraid and go to the tunnel. But anyway, good people, I'm going to go. I'm going to say good night. It's been good seeing you guys.